Good evening. This is Tuesday, August 5th, 91 days until the 2008 presidential election. If you scoff at the thought that the American government might actually try to create a forged document to establish a link between Saddam Hussein and the 9/11 attacks and thus an excuse to invade Iraq, some snippets of history to consider as we begin our fifth story, our cable exclusive interview with the author reporting this in his new book, Ron Suskind. Fake government documents created by the Soviets were used against President Reagan and President Carter and President Eisenhower and Nelson Rockefeller and Secretary of Defense Weinberger and the police commissioner of New York City and the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. The French faked their own government documents in the Dreyfus case and forged Napoleon's signature to use against President Madison. There were the Suskind documents, the Tanaka Memorandum, and most pertinent to our purposes here, the Italian Niger yellow cake uranium forgery. Ron Suskind in a moment. First, the details of what he has written in The Way of the World, published today. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist writing that before the March 2003 invasion of Iraq, President Bush already knew Iraq did not have weapons of mass destruction, something that did not stop him from ordering the invasion anyway. Suskind speaking on the record with U.S. intelligence officials who told him that in early 2003, in secret meetings with British intelligence, Saddam's own intelligence chief, Tahir Jahil Haboush, revealed that Iraq, in fact, did not have weapons of mass destruction, information that was passed on to the CIA. When that information was then passed on to Mr. Bush, author Suskind says the president became frustrated and said of Haboush, quote, "Why don't they ask him to give us something we can use to help us make our case?" Haboush then held weekly meetings with British intelligence, telling them that Saddam had no WMD stockpiles and no active nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons programs. When all this was shared with CIA Director George Tenet, he said, quote, "They're not going to like this downtown." Downtown being the White House. It sounds like a police drama. The White House then buried the Haboush report. They instructed the British that they were no longer interested in keeping the channel open. Rob Richer, the CIA's Near East division head, telling Suskind, again on the record, quote, "Bush wanted to go to war in Iraq from the very first few days he was in office. Nothing was going to stop that." Now for the smoking gun about the smoking gun that was never a smoking gun. CIA division head Richer telling Suskind that not only did the order to forge a fake letter come from the White House, but the assignment had been written on creamy White House stationery. The White House had concocted a fake letter from Haboush to Saddam, backdated to July 1, 2001. It said that 9/11 ringleader Mohammed Atta had actually trained for his mission in Iraq, thus showing finally that there was an operational link between Saddam and al-Qaeda, something the Vice President's office had been pressing CIA to prove since 9/11 as a justification to invade Iraq. There is no link. Another CIA official, John McGuire, who oversaw the Iraq Operations Group, also confirming the existence of the forged letter to author Suskind. But Mr. Richer backtracking for both of them tonight in a statement to MSNBC, quote, "I never received direction from George Tenet or anyone else in my chain of command to fabricate a document from Haboush as outlined in Mr. Suskind's book. Further, today, 5 August 2008, I talked with John McGuire, who has given me permission to state the following on his behalf. I never received any instruction from then Chief NE Rob Richer or any other officer in my chain of command instructing me to fabricate such a letter. Further, I have no knowledge to the origins of the letter and as to how it circulated in Iraq." The letter, whatever its origins, was passed in Baghdad to Con Coughlin, a reporter for the Sunday Telegraph of London, who wrote about it in the front page of his newspaper on December 14, 2003, the same day that Saddam Hussein was discovered in his hidey hole in Iraq. That day, Mr. Coughlin describing the significance of his find to Tom Brokaw on Meet the Press.
It's an intelligence document written by the then head of Iraqi intelligence, Haboush, to Saddam. It's dated the 1st of July 2001, and it's basically a memo saying that Mohammed Atta has successfully completed a training course at the house of Abu Nidal, the infamous Palestinian terrorist who, of course, was killed by Saddam a couple of months later. Now, this is the first really concrete proof that al-Qaeda was working with Saddam. It's a very explosive development, Tom.